about. But for those of you who stay to the end, I'm going to promise you a present. So don't leave now, okay? So with that, I think we have microphones. Yeah, okay, please.
Let me first ask a question for Kingdom, because he's doing in terms of, it seems to me what you're doing a little bit, it's just, it's not particularly FinTech. I mean, what Value Partner is doing, because it's probably being done by like Renaissance technology way back. It's using technology actually to do, to get more value out of the data as well. But the question I want to ask is, how much research budget do you have? I mean, you give to IT, and does the trend of being the AI being more critical to your research imply that smaller firms will be severely disadvantaged in fund management business? Okay, and the second question I have is just for everybody, just like, who is ahead in terms of FinTech, like China or UK? I heard about UK being, by a vanguard, but then China. One time, I hear somebody from Ping Insurance, and I was really impressed by the very aggressive, active approach to using FinTech, and which is quite different from what BOC is doing. I think it's like bits and pieces, whatever, right? Or rather than holistic. But I just want to, also sort of question for everybody whether. So maybe can
sure. Yeah. I think, yeah, strictly speaking, we can say it's not FinTech, but to us, it's applying technology. Because when we build the big data, we have to tap into a lot of FinTech channels, like WeChat, WhatsApp, eBay, Amazon. A lot of this data, right, are gathered through the FinTech channels. So in fact, I can come on as a side track issue. Now, some of these new economy business model, they actually pay customers, right, to gain market share. But behind the scenes, they're making tons of money by selling data. Right? So in a way, our application of technology is related to how FinTech is developed. The better FinTech world is developed, the better quality data we get. Some of these new ideas actually will not be possible without those data sets. And in terms of application of AI, and I guess also related to future employment of analysts and fund manager. I think, first of all, I want to also clarify what is unique to Value Partner, because the way we apply technology is entirely driven by fundamentals, not by data mining. I emphasized that very early on. The reason why we started using technology, in fact, more than 3 years ago, we didn't even call that big data because that term was not really widely used then. Was driven by the needs of our active fund managers to understand market trend. And they wanted, traditionally, when you study a sector, the best you can do is to read the research report of all those companies in that sector. But then, how much value are we adding compared to our competitors? The firms that, especially global firms, who are much more resources than we do. So that's the origin of looking at technology to enhance efficiency. So I think, at least from our perspective, AI is for enhancing efficiency. At the end of the day, decision making should be made by human.
Sorry, the follow-up is it smaller fund managers will be disadvantaged because you need to employ a lot of IT people
actually, no. Our core team is only 8 people strong. IT is multiple bigger, several-fold bigger. But I think there's a difference between traditional IT and investment technology. For our traditional IT, actually, our preference is to outsource. In outsource, you only get the state-of-the-art technology. Yeah.
I think Janos, don't worry about IT. Janos has many companies that are happy to solve your problem for you. But on that note, I'll make a comment. I don't know if Faisal wants to say anything, but it caught my eye that there was an announcement this week that Bank of China in China and Bank of China Hong Kong and Tencent have signed a sort of cooperative agreement to cooperate, right, on FinTech. So I think that's an example. You were talking about that. Do you want to say a few things about that?
I think I cannot say too much, but I can tell you we have signed a collaboration and strategy agreement with them, and we are focusing in many FinTech initiatives, AI, big data, blockchain, and also we have some biometric authentication technologies. I think some of them are also related to VR and AR. So actually, both of the FinTech initiatives are all involved, and we will work closely with them and study how to improve the banking customer experience through this strategic agreement.
Okay.
Okay. I have a question. I heard that the FinTech is running very fast. But my question is, my impression in Hong Kong for FinTech is running very slow in comparing with China. If we see that TNG or VLab is very successful, I can ask how many people here use TNG? Only a few. But if we have the same question in China, how many people use the WeChat payment? A lot. Even a lot of old people, they know how to use the WeChat payment in the supermarket, but no one, only a few of them in Hong Kong use Apple Pay. What's the problem in Hong Kong? Our FinTech is very slow. And also I want to respond to one of the speakers say that WeChat are very difficult to find people in Hong Kong. In another seminar, I heard that the problem in Hong Kong, we have very good training, we have very good infrastructure, but a lot of people after they receive the training, they leave Hong Kong, go to Singapore, go to startup company, go to China. What's the problem in Hong Kong?
So I'll go on the second point. I'll go on the first one. Okay. So on the second point, people are leaving Hong Kong. Supercharger were able to bring 3 Hong Kong graduates that were studying abroad, got offered from a management consulting firm, KPMG, JP Morgan, etc., and we're able to bring them back in Hong Kong when they got a job in London, because we're telling them you're actually going to build Hong Kong, rebuild Hong Kong, right? So I think the thing is you need to give a purpose and a sense of belonging to new employees, whether young or old, and if you don't do that, of course they're going to go somewhere else because they want to impact markets. If you don't give them a capacity of impacting, they're not going to stay. So I think the question is, can you provide something for impact, and if you can, then they will come and join back, and they will come in Hong Kong. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing that about China is the most innovative. Yeah, okay, but China is incredibly big, and actually China was incredibly inefficient until very recently. Like WeChat Pay or Alipay or any technology coming out of China was either by a factor of 100 or 10 or a factor of 10 compared to what they had before. Hong Kong as a market is actually a fairly efficient financial market. When you went from, I don't know, your mobile banking app in Hong Kong to a TNG, what is better by what? 10%, 15%, 20%, maybe 30%? When China introduced Alipay, it was better by a factor of 1,000 or 10,000. And therefore, from an individual consumer perspective, you jump on it. The only thing that's going to beat the octopus card in Hong Kong is facial recognition at the gate that allows you to go in faster. It's not going to be like contactless payment on your card chip. Right? So I think we have to keep in mind that the consumer adoption is driven by, is it 10 times cheaper and is it 100 times better? If it's not, then you're not going to have adoption at the speed that you have in China. And China started from the starting point, which was an inefficient financial market. And I'm not criticizing China. I'm just saying that China in 50 years had to go from a monobanking model to a diversified financial service system, which is still actually pretty inefficient. And therefore technology companies said, I'm going to solve for something that hasn't been solved so far. So it cannot be fully compared one-to-one. That's the only thing I'm saying about China and Hong Kong.
Would you like to share feeling in the work group of HKMA. We discuss about the DLT technology, how to use in the banking industry, in mortgage, trade finance, digital currency. But when we study, we joined the group nearly 2 years. But sorry, but we found that there are too many POC. Actually, most of the people working in the DLT are still in the DLT, still in POC stage. So what is our experience is, no matter how small this group, we should launch in production, and we can learn what is the problem. What we maybe is not a technical issue. We found that, for example, we launched the trade finance after the mortgage. We launched in a very small scope, but we found that there is some business consideration. It is very hard to resolve. But we need the market and the industry, or even HKMA, to line up the industry to solve the problem. But if we still working in the POC, actually no problem to the POC. It is just a demonstration. After the demonstration, everybody will forget the result. But what I see is, what is the problem in Hong Kong? I see there is still many POC. Maybe we need to change the mind to launch in a very, maybe we can start in a very small scale. Sandbox is one of the very useful tools for us to try and start the pilot project. That is my feeling in the DLT projects.
I think I touched on this point already. I think different markets have their own unique characteristics. Take China, for example. KYC is very easy because you can actually tap into the security database of the police. But that's why I said earlier, it can never be duplicated elsewhere, anywhere in the world. So that's one reason. The other reason is the regulatory approach. If you're familiar with China, the regulations, they will publish a framework, not the details. And that will give the market a lot of flexibility. So they have this try and error approach. But Hong Kong is a very established financial center. That kind of approach I don't think will work.
Yeah, I'll just briefly comment because I'm involved in a few fintech companies. I think actually we have to remember Hong Kong's role for China is really a bridge to the rest of the world, right? So think of businesses in that area. I mean, wealth management would be an obvious one, right? Because as Chinese want to invest abroad, Hong Kong is an obvious stop, right? So if you think of solutions for that sector that would help Hong Kong-based wealth management firms, local or global, interact with Chinese clients. I mean, I think just on that I can think of many ideas. So I think the idea maybe is not to go into China to compete with Chinese fintech company, but to say what can we do in Hong Kong to help those companies go global. I think even that theme alone offers a lot of opportunity, and I'm seeing people actually taking advantage of that. King says we can take one more question. So last question, please.
Can I just ask earlier on that the comment about the robo-advisor in Hong Kong probably won't take off big time because Dr. Ahn made the comparison between 401k system and then the NPF system in Hong Kong. Can you just expand a little bit, please? I mean, surely if there's a kind of digital platform whereby you actually offer more choices to everybody else, then people might take more interest, and then therefore there is actually space for robo-advisory kind of in Hong Kong, please.
Sure, yeah, that's a very good question. You can carry on. Okay, first I want to clarify myself. I'm not saying robo-advisors don't have a place in Hong Kong, just that we're not ready. We need some catalysts, and I think that we're seeing some changes in that direction. But first of all, robo-advisory is about self-directed investment. Right? People must have the sophistication, must have the need to make those decisions themselves. At the moment, Hong Kong doesn't have that DNA yet. Partly because in Hong Kong, you get actually investment advice for free from banks. You can go and ask them for the latest market commentaries, latest investment advice without paying a dime. You only pay for the service when you invest, right? So therefore, global advice is good, it's convenient, but can they give you that kind of custom-made service? So global advice in this current form is very generic. Maybe with the advance of AI, they can provide more custom-made, tailor-made service. But then, obviously, I think you have to pay for that as well. The other reason is the availability of tools. The ETF market in Hong Kong is very skewed. It's very small. So the liquidity is really just in the hands of a few. So global advice needs ETF as building blocks. And we don't have those building blocks yet.
So if I may, let me tie that into a comment Janos made earlier about client acquisition costs, because Hong Kong is a small market, B2C, right? And client acquisition cost is high. I mean, even US robo advisors are facing that problem. They realize it's very expensive to get clients. So that's been Janos, your comment was there are more now B2B FinTech companies in your supercharger. So I think, can we tie that question into comment of, for those thinking of B2C type businesses, what observation would you make?
So like, on the robot advisory, like I think client acquisition cost is anything from $400 to $600 per client. And then you need to generate a return on that, and you need to have the asset under management, which is big enough for actually you to do it. And it's just very, very difficult. If you now combine that to the fact that you don't have a lot of VC funding in Hong Kong, well, your client acquisition cost has to be funded somewhere, somehow, at the beginning, right? So either it's the founder's own money, but you start realizing that for 10 clients, that's $4,000. For 100 clients, that's $40,000. For 1,000 clients, that's it goes up very, very quickly. And so then you're down $500,000 just to acquire a customer, and now you need to start generating a return, and how much asset under management do you have? And then you have another one, which is the regulators, for example, in the UK, are actually worried, and they're actually putting more regulatory capital on fintech companies because they go, consumer using fintech companies are less sticky. They would be willing to go more around left and right. There is no brand loyalty yet. And so the customer that you just acquired could as easily go to another one very, very quickly. So I think that's one of the issues. I think then, to your point around, is Hong Kong a great B2C market? I don't know. I think that we would like to see, yes, maybe the banks are the best distributor of it, right? The thing is, if the race is between distribution and innovation, the banks have distribution, the startups have innovation, let's marry both of them, they're going to be happy. If the startups try to do distribution by themselves, it's going to be very complicated and expensive. The reality is banks have the capacity of just buying the innovation if they wanted to. And by buying, I don't mean necessarily MMA, I mean just having a program working with startups to actually do it properly. You had a question about, what's the most interesting fintech market? Yeah, okay, China is great, and I think everyone has China in mind. We're in Malaysia now. I think it's an interesting market. If I do a fintech company in Malaysia, I pay 4 times less the cost of my staff. I actually have a pretty good developer market, so the tech guys is pretty good. The regulators are incredibly proactive. I get 30 million people off the bat. I get a local Malay staff that will speak at least 3 languages, including Mandarin and then Bahasa. Pretty good, right? So I would say if I would do B2C, maybe I'd go there. At least in Hong Kong with a 3-month runway, in Malaysia I have 9 months. So if I'm wrong, I have at least 3 times to rechange my business until I figure out, versus here, you're wrong, you burn like $30,000 a month, you miss 1 payment, the next month you have to find $60,000. And I think that's the reality for founders, and that's the real pain point, is it's an expensive city, and when you miss 1 month of rent and staff, the next month it's 60K, and the month after it's 90K. And that's what hits entrepreneurs here. It's not, that's the real thing.
I think,
Sorry? You didn't get an intern? I have a student from Malaysia.
So, unfortunately, we have to stop here. I think some of us can stay. I know I haven't gone through all my questions, but I promise you something at the end. So the people at Invest Hong Kong bribed me, they promised me a free beer if I tell you this. But Hong Kong has a FinTech week coming up, 23rd to 20th, it's all there, right? It literally is FinTech week. There are events every day, full day, Monday to Friday that week. And they said they'll offer you a discount. So that's the code up there. So that's the, this is where you get the info, and the code is IHK20. Yeah, take a photo. I get a commission for that, so please sign up. I'm kidding, okay? I'm kidding. So please, I think if you're interested in it, I think Invest Hong Kong is doing a super job in promoting Hong Kong, but also organizing a lot of events. I'm sure they, yeah.
I have a question. If you put IHK 50, do you get 50% off?
I think you guys should try it. I mean, if that's the logic of that code, you might as well try doing that.
You can tell who's the hacker in this room. But on that note, please join me in thanking our 3 great panelists for sharing their insights and their wisdom.
Thank you. Once again, on behalf of the school, thank you all the speakers tonight, and thank you our partner, and thank you all of you to attend the seminar tonight. And your feedback is important. So before you leave, please, you can spend maybe less than 1 minute. We'd like to hear your feedback. So once again, thank you for coming.